father set up 65 years ago. It's incredible the impact that it's obviously having around the world. Your father, the Duke of Edinburgh, is in hospital at the moment. Do you mind me asking how he is at the moment?
Well, as far as I'm aware, I did speak to him the other day, so he's a lot better, thank you very much indeed, and he's looking forward to getting out, which is the most positive thing. So we keep our fingers crossed.
Sense of frustration being in hospital?
Just a bit. I think that gets to all of us. So and then that so yeah, you can only watch the clock so many times, and you know the walls are only so interesting.
Well, we all wish him well.
You're very kind. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you. We've had some brilliant and lovely messages from all sorts of people, and we really appreciate that. So and so does he. I've been passing them on, so it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy? The international side of the award is very important to you. It must have been frustrating that you've not been able to get out there and see the progress that the young people are making around the world.
It has been frustrating, but you know it's brought the award family together in a way that we've never experienced before, because it affected everybody. There was, you know, I mean, the same in every country. You know, nobody was everybody was involved or affected by it in some way or other, and that was the same for the award family. So there's been greater collaboration and than we've ever had before. Luckily, we'd started our digital transformation, so we moved more of our services online. People were able to do their record books online, and that's made an enormous difference. And those countries that are further down the line with that digital transformation found that they actually had an increase in the number of young people taking up the award, which was brilliant. But it was very interesting. We did a survey last year of a lot of young people, over 3,000 young people, about exactly this business of resilience and their own state of mind. And there were a lot that felt, you know, that they were frustrated, a sense of loneliness, and sometimes extreme loneliness, about amongst a third. But what was really interesting was that by far the largest number responded that they were much more concerned about the well-being and health of their family and friends and people that they knew. And it was fascinating that, that concern for others was paramount to them, and so many of them have reached out to try and do things to actually help other young people and adults, to get through it.
And surely we need to tap into that. We need to encourage young people to keep going with that volunteering at a time when we're still trying to figure out our way ahead when it comes to getting out of the difficulties of the pandemic.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to rely on them to have that resilience and adaptability. But we know that if you give young people those challenges, that they do respond, and they do respond positively. And they will come up with the ideas, they will come up with the innovation and the imagination to see us through and to help us through it. And that's the really positive thing about it. And it's brilliant that along with some of the 5 of the other big sort of international youth organisations, we've gone into partnership with the WHO, because the WHO see young people as being a vital factor in helping us to come out of the pandemic the other side, which is brilliant.
So you're working with the WHO?
Yeah.
There are families up and down the country who have struggled with issues such as homeschooling and generally with the pandemic. If you don't mind me asking, how has it been for your family? How have your son and daughter been through this time? Have you found it challenging? Yes.
So chalk and cheese. So one of them who actually, delightfully loves school, is just terribly frustrated not being able to go to school. The eldest one, so Louise, yeah. But she had her GCSEs interrupted last year, so we went through that whole pain of just having all that suddenly taken away from you, so she sort of struggles a bit with it with the online learning, because she much preferred to be with everybody else, and I think it's very interesting that social bit, that dependence on your peers for many things, I think is really important. And our younger one, who's frankly thinks that being at home and online is fantastic. But online learning is, as I think we've all discovered, is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be, and it's partly to do with your own ability to be able to engage with the technology, but also it's about who's giving you the lessons and their ability to be able to engage. And again, if you've got the technology, we've had two very different experiences, and we've got one who's now really excited about the fact that schools are reopening, and one's in deep depression.
But also it's difficult.
It's even more difficult when they're online, because you can't really look over their shoulder and see what they're doing, and you're no longer in communication with the teaching. So it is very difficult, and trying to. I mean, I have to say, half term came at just about the right time, because it was very interesting. The frustrations that were beginning to, I reckon we weren't the only family to have experienced that, and I really mind for people who've got children who are younger than ours, who really don't understand what they're doing and what this is all about, and why they should be, watching a computer, and so, and that's been really difficult, and so again, I count our blessings that we're lucky where we are.
I want to ask your father, the Duke of Edinburgh. How much does he continue to ask about the award and the form that it's taking now, and the way that you're now the custodian in many ways, and sort of what you're doing with this scheme and the award? How much do you ask about it?
So, well, I try to sort of, I try to keep him up to date with some of what's going on, and so he does still take an interest in that, and continues to be amazed that it's still working and that there are still so many young people wanting to do it. But then I wouldn't expect anything other from him. And I think he's been pleasantly surprised by some of the stories that he's been hearing about how young people have used the award during this time, and how they have responded so very positively, and not just those that are doing the award, but actually the ones that have done the award, who are now in as key workers or frontline, or indeed involved in giving back to the community in so many other ways. So the values and the ethos of the award have really shone through in this, because they're exactly the sort of people that are making such a positive difference in so many. And this is happening all over the world. We're not just talking about in Britain, and that's fascinating. And I was talking to some young people from America online a while ago, and I mean, it was fascinating how they changed and adapted and were learning things about themselves which they would never have believed possible, because they had to, because the pandemic had just stopped everything else. So, but they wanted to carry on doing this, which is great.
The team at the Duke of Edinburgh Award have said that this really is a critical time for young people. Yes, we know that they're going back to school on the 8th of March, but they're also concerned that push to concentrate on academic studies may well come at the risk of moving away from the non-academic. Are you concerned about that?
Yes, because it's a balance. It's always a balance, and yes, we mind desperately about them, trying to help them to catch up with their academic career. But at the end of the day, we're talking about what can we give young people in this time that's going to really help them in the future, and how are they going to be ready for the world, and that's not just about academics, and I think that the role of the non-formal in this present climate is going to be even more important than ever before, because it is those skills and experiences which are going to be looked for. And I think it's that sense of achievement which young people desperately need. They need to feel that they've really accomplished something, and that's really important for their own self-confidence and their own self-belief, which is so. And yeah, there's it's going to be a difficult time. I mean, I have to say it's fantastic that things are beginning to move in this country at long last. Other countries are a bit further ahead of us, so and have been able to restart things like this, and it's really fascinating in places like New Zealand and Canada, where actually they have been able to restart some of those things, and you know, since the demand from young people to do those sorts of things, and actually, you know, I think adults have been quite surprised by how much they value them.
But has it been anecdotally that young people have had this scheme, something to aim for during the pandemic?
Well, I think that's the most important bit, is just to trying to give people a bit of a focus. I mean, the award has always been about helping young people to set goals and to achieve and to feel that they're progressing. And it's been even more important during this lockdown to have activities that they feel that they can do and that they can carry on doing. The greatest challenge has been adapting the conditions of the award to allow people to do it within all the restrictions of the pandemic. But the imagination and adaptability that young people have shown has been quite phenomenal. And they've come up with some brilliant ideas of how to be able to get around the limitations and restrictions, and the volunteering that they've been doing out there particularly has been really, really impressive.
They've risen to the challenge at what has been a very difficult time for young people, and unprecedented.
It's been hugely difficult for a lot of young people. I mean, for so many, their academic careers have been completely disrupted and thrown into chaos. All those who lost their exams, all the things that they've been working towards had gone, and the longer term impact, I think, is going to be immense. So for me, I think that the role of the award, the role of that non-formal bit, that because those skills and experiences are so important in future life, and those are the things that they can continue to do. And obviously there's a lot of catching up, because you know, the adventurous journeys have been very difficult to do under the circumstances, although I never quite worked out why, because they're all outdoors, but anyway, and the residential section for the Golds. So the Golds have been the ones that have suffered probably the most frustrations being able to complete, and it's really, and that's a really difficult one, because we've tried everything to help them, but you know, it's not the same. You can change the conditions, but then they just feel, but it's not the same, and they want to do, you know, what's going to make a difference to them, and they want to be able to do the full thing, and which is fantastic. So we've got to try and support them to do that, and that, you know, that qualification, that accreditation of getting the gold means so much when they go for job interviews and when they go on to university and things like that. So, you know, it's fascinating. I mean, it really is an important part of their lives.